Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, Paul Hall, Flatzoid, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. Welcome, one and all!
Hello, hello, hello.
Greetings, everyone.
Salutations.
Shalom. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not from the best kebab store in my town.
No.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
None
No,
of
but
the Earth-based variety.
No, because balloons stay still.
Earth doesn't move.
Lots of mumblings about reference frames, I hear.
Reference frames.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
As someone
Found
says,
in
only in
channels,
pictures.
Not found in
Has anyone gone past 12Ks?
No, no one's dug past 12k. They got the predictions wrong with their P waves and S waves on the way down as they dug that far.
Anybody hear about Mr. Sensible having seen the curve through his balloon experiment?
Yeah, we covered it yesterday, actually. Yeah.
We did?
What
Yes.
physical reified geometric sphere edge horizon based on an R value that we cannot see, cannot calculate, is only in existence in the geometric maths. That sphere edge horizon he thinks he can see at altitude. That one. No, the horizon's not a sphere edge.
Right. Well, that was what I was saying to somebody in my chat today, too. So I forgot that we actually reviewed that yesterday.
He thinks barrel distortion is curved. That's the problem.
They think the horizon's the edge for a boat to go over. They think the horizon's the edge of a sphere. A physical, geometric location to block things. With non-physicality, they tell us can't be seen, can't be measured. So, no, we've debunked it with the Black Swan. Mr. Sensible should be well aware of that, given his rather memorable quote. At best, you would have debunked the radius. Yeah, that's about the geometric sphere edge horizon, you moron.
Classic.
Go on, Owen.
No, I just said classic.
Yeah, they have
He did.
selective amnesia when their arguments fall to pieces and a new one comes along as asserted by mainstream. They go, oh, look, mainstream says they see the sphere edge, horizon, geometric. So here it is. Forgetting that at best we've debunked the radius based on its lack of ability to measure it at the horizon because it's non-physical. Clown shows. Hello? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Except for that sign on your screen right there. No.
What's gravity
Stuff falls
again?
down,
What is it?
but
It's
I
a
haven't seen
movie.
the center of gravity
It's a
when stuff's
fallacy.
attracted to.
Which gravity?
It's dead.
Nowadays they have all sorts of different types.
Downity. That's the only one I see. Just stuff going down.
Down,
Some-
not under pressure.
What's going down?
Like an apple.
I've got an
Things
apple.
that are medium dependent.
Hold on. I've got an apple right in front of me. It's not going down. What's going on?
Are you underwater or in the air?
In the air when you drop it.
You
Oh, I've got to
drop
pick it up.
something in the
Oh, hold on, hold
drop
on.
something underwater.
Sin, hold on 1 second. Sorry, when I drop it, so I've got to pick it up first. Well, there's the explanation for why it's dropping.
Right.
Hydrostatic.
Right. I guess it's why stuff doesn't hover or whatever, or stay suspended.
The attachment to relative density is hydrostatics. It's going to find its equilibrium based on the matter and the mass that it, whatever it's made of.
Why does
Pressure.
stuff float? That's basically what gravity asks. Like
hold
the
on, just one
clouds
second.
and stuff.
Hydrostatics?
Yeah, hold on. No, hydrostatic. What do you think that word means?
Volumetric pressure.
No, that's a completely different word. Hydrostatic.
Yeah.
What do you think that means?
The fluid of the air that it's measured.
Oh, so air's a fluid, is it?
It's measured in the air.
It's a fluid, is it?
Well, what is the air?
It's a gas.
Right? Yeah. It's a mixture of, well, it's actually a mixture of gases that we've measured certain things at. But if you drop that same thing underwater, it's going to have, gravity is going to be debunked in that because it's medium dependent. It's volumetric pressure based on the medium that it's in.
Can I ask a question?
What?
Hold on, Erwin.
Why
Can
would
you
it
have
not be?
water
You drop
pressure
something
without a
here,
container?
it's
Sin,
fall
Sin,
differently
please don't have verbal
something in
diarrhea.
water
You've
is
made your
tank.
statements. God. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, sorry.
Can you have water? Hold on, Sin. Can you have water pressure without a container?
Absolutely not. You have to have a container to have any sort of matter, I'd imagine.
So just about every form of gas or liquid has to have some form of container to have pressure, correct?
The Earth is absolutely a perfect container for everything. All of that, absolutely.
So how is the water and gas contained in the Earth system?
The Earth is a container?
It's based on
What?
hydrostatics. The Earth is the container because you have pressure based on the surface of the Earth, and the surface of the Earth has a much more dense, if you want to talk about mass, it's a much more dense amount of mass than the air or the gas above it. So you have the pressure
so
on
what
the
is
Earth.
the
Wait a minute, hold on.
other side
One
of
at
the
a time,
container?
Arwin.
Well, hold on.
I think we already know this.
No, hydro means water.
Right.
Well,
The
not
air.
air.
In this example, like, okay, what I'm saying is that if the air is a volume of gas, things are going to fall or drop or go down at a different accelerative rate than they will if they are in a different medium such as water. Drop something in air, it's going to have a different speed or velocity of air than acceleration than it will if it's underwater.
So what?
So
What
it's
does any
medium
of this have
dependent
to do with
based on
gravity?
volumetric pressure, which is
Question
absolutely
is-
relative to
Displacement
density.
friction. That's all. That happens in relative density too, you know?
I've just explained that it's correlated.
Yeah,
Volumetric
fine.
pressure means it's medium dependent. So whatever the density of the item that you're measuring, based on its mass, is going to be dependent on the volume or the medium that it's in.
Yeah, fine. The only issue I had was the word hydrostatic being used.
Well, hydrostatic is just used in the example of talking about the air.
No, it's not.
Liquid
God,
dynamics.
please, I'm just going to get
really
really
just
annoyed with you
air.
if you don't listen to me. I'm going to say it a third and final time. Hydro. What does hydro mean?
Hydro means a contained liquid.
Right. What does
Except it
static?
doesn't
Okay,
turn
thank you.
anything liquid.
Fluid. I would
Thank you. Thank you.
Including water, the air.
Thank you. What does static mean?
Some sort of equilibrium.
Not moving.
Static means not moving. Is water?
Equilibrium.
Let's just, for the love of God, Sin, please. It's the third attempt of saying this to you, and you're just going to reassert it a fourth time, because if so, I'm going to get really annoyed. Hydro, that would be liquid. Static, not moving. Does that in any way describe air? No, it does not.
Well, I mean, it depends how you measure it. Air at sea level is measured at 14.7 psi, and that is very. I mean, that's a measurement that we can do. But when you go higher up, you're just finding a gradient, and that gradient is medium dependent based on the gas of the medium that we measure things falling.
Well, you've said that 4 times, and each and every time
I mean,
you've been agreed with. And I said, no issues.
I don't think we're having arguments argument here.
We are, because I say, no, the only issue I've got, you completely ignore me or mutter through me, is the word hydrostatic. 3 times I explained it to you, and then you're like, no, that's fine. Completely ignoring me pointing out, breaking down the word. You're still yet to acknowledge it. You've moved on to a point we've both agreed on. I just need you to concede, not a good word to describe air, which is not static or fluid-like.
I absolutely see your point. You're trying to say, I understand what you're saying. You're saying that air isn't necessarily just one state of matter or the other. It's actually a combination of water and air. So it is, it's a fluid. You could best describe it as a fluid.
No.
That's not what he said.
My God, I'm going to get really pissed off with you.
Holy shit.
I'm going to get annoyed if you don't just acknowledge what I actually say to you.
I thought we agreed.
Is it static?
It is hydrostatic because it's based on an equilibrium.
So I'm going to kick you out, Sin, because you're going to piss me off. This is the 4th time. No, it's not static. Air's not static. So, no, this word is not correct. You're still yet to acknowledge it. 4th time, you're now going to say, no, hydrostatic's fine. It's a good word. Even though on 4 separate occasions, like now with you muttering through me, if I get the fuck out, why are you raising my blood pressure? Just piss off. If you can't accept that after 4 separate occasions of me telling you that air isn't static, and you're still going to assert that, no, it's a perfectly acceptable word to use, then you're an intolerable prick. Just get out. No, it's not static. How many bloody times? 4 is too many in the middle of housekeeping. Just accept that your nonsense is nonsense or I'll kick you out. 4 times is too many. No, air is not static. Okay? God, how many times?
Well, even...
Okay, have you ever seen Trillion Optics?
Again?
It's in the
Have you
chat.
ever witnessed Trillion Optics?
You can
One at
you
a
can
time.
pour the air like it's a fluid.
Is it hydrostatic? Hydrostatic? No.
It is.
That's the only word I covered.
Stops moving around.
Let's spend 10 minutes describing fluid. No. Hydrostatic? No, it isn't. 4 times. Too much. Why are we now moving on to whether or not it's fluid? Arbitrary descriptions. That's all these are. Arbitrary.
Let me say something, Nathan. Even to get gas to act like a fluid, it has to be contained and under pressure.
Yes, that's where they get hydrostatic from. Forcing all the gas particles really close together. That's how they get to that description. It's just an inaccurate description of our air. But obviously 5 times explaining that's just going to be too much for some people.
Well, that's why another reason I bring up like water pressure, because if you start getting into a fluid, to even have water pressure, that water has to be contained. Because if you put it in a vacuum, you will not have water pressure. It'll disappear. It'll evaporate.
Well, hydrostatic pressure is described here when I Google it to be basically the gradient workings of water when it has settled, because it's very specific. Water at rest, liquid at rest.
Oh, settled. That would make sense with that word static.
Exactly.
Arwen, is gas ever static?
No.
Oh, there we go.
Well, and also, if you put a vacuum chamber above water that's even static, what will happen to water?
It would all dissipate. It would immediately vaporize and then dissipate.
It's a study of statics versus dynamics. Dynamics is stuff that's changing, stuff that's in flow, stuff that's in flux. Statics is stuff that tends not to change, tends to be stable, settled, unmoving, like static electricity. There doesn't appear to be flowing electricity until zap, you touch something. And it's like there was this static, unmoving electrical charge that was just, hovering around. And then all of a sudden, zap, when you touch like a doorknob or something. Static.
Indeed. Used often because it's describing the lack of change? What do another word for that be? Oh, entropy! So, what a useful tool to describe when something's not changing, not subject to an entropy increase. That's useful when the world is violating that natural law. Could do with being static, really, the air. So it'd be useful to describe it as such with this hydrostatic description. Yeah, I'm not going to
It
take
also
it.
describes
Go on, sorry.
a liquid that's contained, not going anywhere.
Indeed.
Static
That's
fluid.
Paul's point, precisely. Let's move on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, impossible from those fields.
Would you expect that from someone who thinks your cousins are rocks?
Well, it's not impossible, but since they're latching onto a very specific storytelling tradition attached to their disciplines, they don't really have that much incentive to do it.
Well, they can't even do it, Arvin, because it's questions scientific evidence, and to have a scientific evidence, you have to manipulate the independent variable.
Well, they might figure out how to do that at some point.
Okay, at some point. So you're here on Earth, and you want to know what the so-called rings of Saturn are. Are you going to be able to manipulate those rings?
Well, maybe at some
Well,
point. It's
please
a
demonstrate.
visual phenomenon, so maybe at some point people will figure out how to alter that visual phenomena here on Earth. Who knows, man?
Can you get your hands on it? Can you move it? Can you stop it? Can you touch it?
He doesn't have to get his hands on the thing. He just has to be able to observe. Alwyn's spot on, right? They've got plenty of phenomena. Now, how they choose to vary and manipulate that which they assume causes the effect we're observing, in this case you're talking about rings on a light in a sky. Well, they might assume that they can affect it with something, let's just postulate something magnetic, just for the sake of argument. Well, they can formulate a hypothesis with that, can't they? If whatever magnetic thing they vary, then the effect of rings around Saturn, that's, with a null, if I vary the magnetism, no rings on Saturn, right? They can formulate that. It wouldn't be viable. The null wouldn't work. Please. The null wouldn't work. But nevertheless, they can attempt to formulate a hypothesis. What Arwin's saying is, yeah, they can definitely predict this. That's what a hypothesis is. That's what we're asking for.
Okay. I was well ahead of the so-called hypothesis and predictions. I'm at the independent variable where you have to go touch it, move it. So yeah, go ahead, predict all you want with the magnet. Now go through a second law of thermodynamics violation and go manipulate those rings. Let me see you do it.
No. Stop.
Hold on.
Hold
you don't have to touch it. You only have to be able to sense it and affect it.
Just stop a second. Don't go into the paradigm that far. We don't need to for this question to be answered by them in the fields that we've labelled as pseudoscience, right? They've got plenty of phenomena. You don't have to make the assumption, even though they may do that in their invalid hypothesis they present, if they were to do so, right? Yeah, second law of thermodynamics, sky vacuum, claim to be light that's actually gas, not expanding. Yeah, I get what you're saying, 10th. However, doesn't change that they're observing phenomena. So
I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that when Arwin says, well, you could figure out the cause of that, just because in their world you're never going to cause the rings of Saturn to be varied by changing something. Because in their world it's a gas giant in a sky vacuum a very far distance away, doesn't change the fact that they could still formulate a viable hypothesis. They're not asking them to validate it even. Just what do you think causes that effect? Put it into an alternative and null format, and then you've got a viable, independent, dependent variable with a null. That's all we're asking for.
Right.
Okay. So only step one, observation.
Well, observation of phenomena is all they ever present with just so story. But the way the question's phrased, it's open to all, right? You don't have to be a heliocentrist with a worldview that Saturn's a burning ball of gas or whatever they claim it is. Gas giant not expanding into a vacuum in violation of natural. You don't have to buy that. You might be a concave guy and say, nah, it's emanating from the inside of my ball with the lights in the centre, right? But I think I can vary and manipulate it with X. So if X, then light in the sky. Well, that's a viable hypothesis if the null worked.
Correct. I'm not even against that. The viable hypothesis, but it's not viable until you test it to see if what your hypothesis, what you predict, is even happening.
No, that's wrong.
So when people come on the show and they use the word science the wrong way, what does QE, what do you do, and what does the panel do every time?
You're wrong. You're talking about validation of a hypothesis. It's only validated upon experimentation. To be a viable hypothesis, it's not that complicated. You've got to have something happening. That's your dependent variable. Automatically, once you've got the phenomena, we're going to say rings around Saturn just to keep it consistent. That's your phenomena. So that's your DV. Well, that's half your hypothesis right away. What else do you need? Presumed cause of the effect. Well, that's only got to satisfy 3 criteria, really. It's got to be real. It's got to be your presumed cause of that effect. And it's got to be capable of variation by you, the researcher. So if you've got something real, I'm going to say magnetism just because it's something that I can vary and manipulate. And I can say, I assume that causes those lights in the sky. Well, then I've got a fully formulated, viable hypothesis. If magnetism varied, then light in the sky called Saturn rings. If if magnetism varied, then no lights in the sky rings around Saturn. Well, that's a viable hypothesis. I think the cause is magnetic fields. So I vary in if I was to validate it or try to, I'd vary it and see if it caused it. But we're not even asking for that bit. We're not saying we want you to actually get it right, because at the end of any attempted validation of a hypothesis, you would still validate something. That's why it grieves quantum erasers so much when people say science doesn't prove things, when that's its only purpose. Once you've got a viable hypothesis with a formulated alternative and null, and you do experiment, one or other will be validated. So in my instance, if I actually was to set up an experiment where I varied, the field strength of magnetism to see if it caused the rings on Saturn, if I did that and it didn't cause it, right? Well, then I've validated my null. I've proven my null. Again, that's not what we're asking for. We're not even asking them to do it. Just give us a viable hypothesis.
I went past that.
Okay. But I like the phrasing because it doesn't, we've changed the intro. It's the nature of Earth now. You don't have to be a heliocentrist to look at something and know that you can validate the cause of it with science and then come up with an idea of what you think it is. Anybody could do that. And Arwin, this is where Arwin's my best friend because he's full of the joy of the excitement of, we might find out. Just got to try, right, Arwin? Got to actually have the tenacity to do it. And where does that start? Well, it starts with the prediction, the hypothesis.
Arwin doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but it doesn't help them making predictions based on maths and then just re-engineering it backwards.
Go on, Sin.
Well, I don't think people should be they shouldn't be getting away with guessing. It's obnoxious, the fact that we have to hear so many people guessing at different shit. Arwin is known for guessing. When is his guesses going to come true? I would be more impressed at that than anything else I've ever
That's not what we're talking about. When we talk about the only aspect of a guess in a hypothesis is your presumed cause of the effect, yet to be validated. Right. The problem comes when they take what they have as their presumed cause of the effect, in this case, independent variable magnetism, and they say it is the cause. So there's just a just so story attached to their claim to be scientific prediction hypothesis. They take a hypothesis and use it like it's the story to explain their presumed cause that they haven't validated. So that's where the problem lies. Coming up with an idea of what it might be, that's the genius bit in science. Saying it might be this. Now, if you get it right and you validate it by experiment, then you are that genius. You guessed right, but you've got to start somewhere. You've got to actually guess. Now, the more specialist you are in any given field, the more likely you're going to have a fair idea what path you should be on to guess before you get it wrong a few times and then get it right, hopefully, if you're successful in your scientific endeavours. But the point is that you've got to guess at some point. That's all a hypothesis is. A supposition yet to be validated. There's nothing wrong with guessing. That's where the genius lies.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that there's literally everything you just said. It is well said. Everything you just said was well said. What I'm saying is that we can't let people just get away with them speculating some random bullshit that they may or may not have pulled directly out of their ass. What I'm saying is, I feel like everybody has their own opinion. And I know QE well enough to know that everybody's exhausted of people just pulling shit out of their ass. You have to have some sort of experiment attached to it. And a lot of these claims typically do not have that. That's all you have to do is ask them about Okay, if it's scientific, what the hell have you done? Let's see it. I'm ready. Show me. And they can't, and that's where it fucking ends, unfortunately.
Agreed. Any
So
evidence?
yeah, that's the frustration. That is the frustration of the whole fucking debate.
Okay, please stop swearing. Please stop swearing. Any evidence of the...
What?
Okay, maybe just continue with verbal diarrhea.
No, no swearing.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Any Glover's got that?
Did
Hey, chocolate.
that Archela's guy ever get to it with his flying shoes?
Nah, it
what?
can't be more than 3 to 10,000 miles away by sextants.
Speak up. Don't mumble your flat Earth claim at us.
It can't be more than 3 to 10,000.
Did I hear a number?
Yeah, 3 to 10,000 miles. No rumpusing. Let's hear it again. Got a flat Earth claim.
Lemon.
Because you can get a 45-90 triangle to the subsolar point from 3,000 miles away. That implies that it's no more than 3,000-ish miles high.
What are you pointing the top of the triangle at? This intangible item.
Why would you make that claim if you know goddamn well you're never going to prove that? You know for as well as anybody else on this panel, you're never going to be able to prove that.
As long as it's there fairly regularly.
It's just a claim that I heard about. It's just as claim as anything else, right?
Well,
you're just saying things that anybody can say that.
Well, people think the sun is physical if it has physical effects like warmth and, hitting our eyes or whatever.
But you legit made a claim about some shit that nobody knows about other than what you just said. Nobody's ever heard about that. You've just made that claim.
That's not true.
Nobody.
People in Robotham's
Where's the evidence
about
it,
man? Robotham's writings saying that by sextants it's about 3 to 10,000 miles high and 32 miles in diameter.
Who reaffirmed that?
To this intangible item. To the intangible item.
In the 19th century?
To the intangible item. Can't track the sun, right? It's not a tangible item. You've just started out your disclaimer by saying some people assume it's physical. Yeah, you do. You're triangulating it.
Correct.
That's probably refracting over a flat plane.
You're doing exactly the same. You're doing exactly the same as the globers, making assumptions and then measuring your biased deductions on those assumptions.
Well, he said probably.
Correct.
He says probably, so it's okay. Allegedly gets you out of anything.
That's an assumption made because the sun has physical effects like warmth, at least in their conception anyway. So if it has physical effects, ergo it must be physical. Ish.
Ish? What do you mean ish? Ish.
Holy shit.
Physical or it's not.
Hold on. No, that ish gave him away. He knows the problem. That's why he said ish. But the bottom line is, I see this as part of the controlled-op narrative for Flat Earth, right? We're given maps and models and ideas about how the Flat Earth should work and told what we should perceive the Flat Earth to be, and told about Robotham and the triangulation of the sun. And we're also given their mathematics, which takes exactly that and just inserts an R value to push the distances to an astronomical value. Well, all of those mathematics has the same assumption at its heart, and it's useful to have both flat earthers and globers arguing about whether or not the triangulation is right with R or right on a flat plane, missing the elephant in the room that you're trying to measure an intangible object and get triangulation values from it, with or without R. So the flat earthers are just as guilty of this. I just see it as falling victim to a controlled-up narrative, like arguing about whether or not the horizon bends. So both sides are going to reify it into physicality, and then we argue about whether or not it bends.
Well, Nathan, that's exactly where you nailed it, because the whole debate, I mean, I don't know if it's QE or you, or probably both of the mingling of each other, but Math doesn't prove anything. It's measurement. You can calculate literally anything, but the measurement involves experimentation. And most people have never done this experimentation. They're just talking about, oh, it should calculate as to this. But when you ask them, they don't know anything about the equations. They're just guessing and pulling shit out of their ass, as they've always done. That's the hilarious part of it.
Moving on. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No.
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 So you can have volume without containment.
No.
This is the best.
No, you can't.
So.
They keep arguing for a gradient.
Sorry, Flatzoid. Practically or hypothetically?
You can go both ways. It doesn't matter.
Hypothetically, I can just
It's
invent an
impossible to
arbitrary
have-
space. Hold on. I can invent an arbitrary space and call that the hypothetical volume within the hypothetical space without it having any walls, because they're not necessary conceptually. So yes, to answer your question.
But no, sorry. Even that is actually wrong. Even their space has volume. Remember, that's not a perfect vacuum, and it's expanding. So
No,
it has
you're
a
talking
boundary.
practically.
So it has.
You've missed my distinction. Practically, no. Hypothetically, yes.
And then you could get a line and name it Carmen.
Oh, Chocolate, you bastard! You totally stole where I was going with this. I've seen it done. Yeah, they can arbitrarily assign a line in the sky and say that the volume is thus. Hypothetically, of course, not practically. Practically, the gas would fill the space. Practically, we're governed by laws of nature. Practically, in reality. Hypothetically, I can, like Chocolate says, because he totally stole my point, I can draw a line and call it Carmen and say that the volume is anything below it.
Did you think that was going to get past Chocolate?
Yeah, past him. That's where I was going. He completely swindled and hijacked my thunder. But that's because Chocolate's ace. Yeah, I re-released exactly that happening recently. I don't know if anyone caught that. So for some reason I had a video with George Netanyuk, and I just hadn't published it. I was going through my videos to tidy up stuff administratively. I came across it. I'm like, why hasn't this been published? So I just published it. So it's like quite an old video, but it was just hanging around in my videos. I make so money, sometimes some slip through the net and don't get published, but that's just a Brucey bonus. But yeah, with him saying how he calculated the volume, and he just drew an arbitrary line and called it the Carmen line and said that the gas that we have is calculable within that area. No walls necessary. Hypothetically, mathematically,
But
arbitrarily. Go ahead.
you said it, mathematically, anything is possible.
Indeed.
Math is literally people that don't know how to use the English language. If you don't know how to use your words, you're probably going to decipher to math. But here's the thing. Literally everything you just said is demonstrably proved because you would back it up through experimentation. A lot of these mathematical theoretical ideas, like Fermilab, there's a lot of people in Discord chat that talk about, there's people that work there, or like apparently there's a whole bunch of people there. In chat, at least, they sound like they're all physicists. But it's literally just a whole method of pulling shit directly out of your ass. And all you have to do is talk with them longer than 15 minutes to discover how much they're making up as they go.
Just so we're clear, not everything has to be scientifically validated. Science is super, super narrow. You know, some things just
I
are.
don't even use science. Science is for nerds. I don't use science. I don't use math. All of it, just pure logic. You can really determine a lot of different things. You don't need science. You don't need math. It should just be able to connect that shit with logic. And if you can't, you're wrong because you don't know how to use your words.
Okay, well, they're tools. One is a tool of language, mathematics. You said, oh, well, they don't know how to use language. Well, math is language. That's just a language. But
Logic
science,
is a language. Yeah. But
yeah.
It's language connected with logic. It's words connected with math. That's the beauty of why we use logic. But most people just use formulas, which is a bullshit, way big of a stretch for connecting things with words, but it just doesn't correlate as well. And that's why they embarrass themselves as much as they do.
Okay, again, science is a method, however. It's not rooted in logic. It's empirical, once applied, but it's merely a method, as opposed to a linguistic thing, a communication thing. It's a methodology thing. So you're kind of saying, well, you don't need science. Well, you do if you want to figure out the cause of a phenomena empirically, but that's quite narrow, right? So, yeah, you might not need it on a day-to-day basis, but it doesn't mean it's not useful. Same with language, same with maths. It's useful. It's a tool.
But even if they went with their own definition of science, they wouldn't even bring it up in this genre, because what are we talking about? The shape of the earth? That's not even a scientific question. So the only reason we're even talking about science is because they used to claim body of science proves we live on a globe. Body of science proves R. Body of science proves gas pressure. And now where are we in 2020? Does science prove things in their respect? No.
It becomes proved by default if it's the only framework left to explain the phenomena. It's proof by elimination. So we'd have to show them another framework that's available.
Well, according to them, it's not proof of anything, because the same science they used to say prove the globe, they say now it doesn't prove anything. So why are we talking about science? Why are they talking about science? And what happened? And how did we get to that road? By asking them for their science? Are you kidding?
Let's get it correct.
Well-
They use pseudoscience because
Well-
Rumpus still swears we do
causation-
not know what science is.
Well, causation is very philosophy laden, notions of what causes what and stuff like that. Science is kind of given up on causations because they basically say we can find a cause, but there can be another cause under this cause that we didn't see. So we try not to say that this proves this cause or disproves this cause, because we might miss something. And so their philosophy of causation is saying you can disprove that something's, a cause, but you can't really prove it because there may be 1,000,001 causes underneath this that we're not quite seeing. That's why they say you can't prove anything in science. Just in
Yes,
case
you
miss
can.
something. But you can demonstrate something.
Science does prove things.
Yeah, they can say what they want, but the problem is they're talking about science, especially in things like in respect to things in the sky, in which they can't manipulate. So how do you have science? You can't even, they can't form a viable hypothesis. They can't manipulate anything. So no experiment. So what are we doing after looking at stuff? What's the next step?
Observational science.
No, that's kind of redundant. Observation is the first step. So what are we doing after that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're decrying a method and describing it as not being capable of proving things when its only purpose is to validate the hypothesis, to prove your hypothesis. And when you perform an experiment, you prove the null or prove the alternative. That's all it does. But they don't have any, so it's best to throw it under the bus like it doesn't have any use. Nah, it doesn't prove anything. We can only have a best guess in science. No, that's not what it's for at all. It's designed to empirically validate your hypothesis. That's what it's for. It proves things. That's all it does.
Well, by their philosophy of causation, like a flat plane covered by a dome that appears to be, created by some sort of supernatural event is anathema. They only deal with materialistic causes, so they want something like Neoplatonic gravity, pulling to the center of a ball with material forming itself by quote unquote material processes. If, the flat earth was not formed by anything like that, they're not going to accept it in their materialistic worldview.
Indeed. Has it all gone quiet? Is it just me?
Moment of silence for the ball.
Hey, Elijah.
Moment of science for the body. Not moment of science. Moment of silence for the body of science that used to prove the globe. That no longer does in 2020.
They used to say it though, right?
Can we say what's up to Eli, who is in the group now? That's cool.
Hey Eli, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up?
Yo, welcome, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Much appreciated.
What are you going to war?
No, you know,
It does look like it, right? It's a bike helmet.
Yeah, you look kind of like a bomb disposal expert with your collar up. You're going to defuse something.
Is it that rough in New York City?
yeah, that's funny. No, I'm just working right now, trying to keep the wind out of the show.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's a wind deflector. Now I'm going to be a lot less discriminatory about it. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Very good idea. Cup your mics, people, if you're out and about. Right, we've got one more housekeeping question, but before I do, I'm going to encourage the audience, because there's hardly anybody watching. There's 135 people watching. There's normally a couple of hundred people watching. God only knows why. Presumably it hasn't gone out to anybody who's subscribed to me. But if you can share the show, smash the share button. That'd be very much appreciated, given the low numbers currently. Unusually low. There's some massive breaking news that's stealing the audience today, but there we go. Please share the show. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
No.
Nah.
Black Swan.
So in the pre-show,
Not at all.
Sin mentioned that Simon Dan had been in the text chat at Discord, and he highlighted his lack of understanding of the arguments or their rhetoric in terms of Newtonian mechanics, at least. And when it comes to the Black Swan, naively, I thought that people would pay close attention to how devastating it was to their rhetoric. You know, it leaves the model untenable, or better description from Arwin, in a paradox. But it's, 10 months down the line? And there's, people like Dan, he hasn't got a clue what the Black Swan is. He's made videos on it and just said refraction because he can parrot it off somebody else who said it. But does he actually understand the argument? Of course not. And I think there's a much, much bigger percentage of people than we probably give credit to that actually do understand the argument. I think it's hardly any of their side. I think hardly any of them actually understand the Black Swan argument.
I think you're right. There was a guy on yesterday who denied that the horizon was behind the oil platforms. He said it was in front of the first one.
Wiggles? Yeah, he's made a reappearance.
Oh,
No,
he's a
the
proper
Parmesan
clown.
guy too.
Nah, that's a different scenario. First scenario is Parmesan, who is a guy who, when asked, where is the horizon in the Black Swan photograph? And he basically declared, the horizon is behind the oil rigs. And then he heard the argument. Then he kind of switched up the game, like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, it's in front of the oil rigs now. Exactly. Yeah, that's where I see it, yeah. As a matter of fact, hold on. He put a line where he thought the horizon was. I'll share that in a second. Give me a second. But then Wiggles.
So he's Xanic reincarnate. No, he's Xanic reincarnate.
I don't know if I'd put Wiggles at the level of Xanic, but carry on.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely not. Wiggles. Oh my God, he came back from wherever the hell he came from, and he said the horizon is behind those oil rigs due to looming. And that we do see the geometric horizon.
Oh,
so I don't know if he's been paying attention, if he woke up from a 8-month nap or something. I'm not sure. I was like, how did you come back with these arguments? Like, your own side doesn't even make these arguments anymore. What's going on? But, it's Wiggles, so yeah. Anyway, let me go find that pic.
So they arbitrarily draw a line on the image and say, that's where the horizon is, right? Do they not appreciate that in the frame that you see of the Black Swan image, their geometric horizon is out of frame, if it existed at all? Obviously not.
Well, the guy Parmesan was saying that he's seen a video, and it's not right, the video. And we're trying to tell him that's a still shot from the video, and you could clearly see the horizon behind the second oil platform. So he's in denial. I invited him to come on the show. I was hoping he'd come on here and explain how gas pressure is contained without a container. He said he would, so.
It's hard to deal with. But I was reading Koresh's cellular cosmogony thing that basically looks at the Earth as an inverted sphere. Between all the, crap and kind of, quasi-cultic stuff in the book, it did have one or two gems. Namely that on a globe, you look in one direction and it might, go down by I don't know.
You really want to say concave, don't you? You're dying to say concave. You're actually begging to say concave.
But if you turn around on the globe, it would actually be even worse because you're at a slant looking down over the globe. And when you look back out into space on that same line, it's actually like 2 times as much dip in the other direction because you're.
Why don't you just say you're a new concaver? Why don't you just say that? You believe in concaver.
So if
just
you're
say that and it'll be
down,
so much easier. We'll figure it out.
So if you're looking down 3 degrees in like one of Xanix's, air flight photos or whatever in the HUD display, if you turn that plane around on that same line, it would be looking down 6 degrees toward the horizon in the other direction. So it gets increasingly obtuse as you turn around in the other direction over a globe. And I never thought about that. And I said, that makes a lot of sense.
We got to cut you off. Listen, Lemon, we have to cut you off. You cannot say these things in public. You have to literally reimagine that shit before you try to say it.
Yeah, it would be worse in the other direction.
I'm sorry to tell you, nobody's buying into it.
And the land would ramp up toward the other direction as well, since you're looking at a slant.
Hold on. Literally no flat earther would ever agree with what you just said. I'm just sorry to tell you, you can retry, but I'm not. Quick, I like what you say most of the time, but that shit is unbelievable.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Nathan, I put it in.
Sorry to tell you about it.
Okay, it's on screen. So this green line.
I don't know if you can make it large enough for people to see where he put his line and where the horizon is.
Yeah, it's hopefully visible.
He put the green line there. Just wondering if anybody agrees that that's where the horizon is.
But that's just denial.
Yeah.
You could clearly see it. I mean, it's way back there.
Well, it's not the Nile. It's an ocean.
Notion. Yeah, that's one way of describing how light isn't a fucking piece of matter.
Try not to swear, please.
Hey, mind the tongue.
Well, yeah, no. What I'm saying. Globers do not have logic. They don't have physics. They don't have any shit. They just stuff. They just completely came up with it. They try to pull it out to see if it works.
Well, I'm just trying to see what sort of good science can be absorbed over a flat plane from the globe side.
Well, you're here to see what glober would show up. What glober would ever give you a response? Lemon, you're not going to hear it. They don't give responses. They don't ever concede anything.
I'll give you a response to anything you want to ask.
You're going to have to concede a couple points before you do, aren't you?
Explain the black swan. Let's start with that.
Right, black swan due to looming.
Yeah, let's start with all the problems that you just sort of discovered just now.
Black swan was right next.
Sin cleanser. You just asked for a Grover to respond. We got one trying to respond.
So the black swan is due to looming. It's very, very simple.
Okay.
We're waiting.
Said looming.
About convex. Lemon Bird has said two intelligent things in this hangout. I just can't believe it. What the hell's going on? And though he did mention it about convex, the image, if you look at the black swan image, it actually has things in the distance being higher up at the eye level, because the eye level is so close to the sea level. Where the towers of the pillars of holding up the platforms are actually higher up the further away you go.
You've managed to pull this
nearly there, which makes it actually a convex shape if you took it literally. So anyway, the point is it's looming, and that can cause the Earth to appear convex.
I've never heard anybody bullshit as much as you just did right now. That's incredible.
You're a scientist. I mean, we went through
that's
this.
That's a work of art in and of itself.
You don't understand the most basic elements of science. I've got
you
you
respond
asked
to
you
your
to
rumpus or
say
what?
the most simple bit of science calculations, and you can't do it. You've been shown you don't even understand the first law of Newton's first law of motion. I mean, you don't know anything. So anyway, it's due to looming.
Thank you. When you finished, rumpus, we heard your claim. Due to looming.
Okay.
So your looming would be based on terrestrial refraction, which is utilising an R value. Well, you haven't got an R value.
It just maths
I didn't interrupt you.
Okay, go ahead.
So you're taking a geometric value, which would be based on a geometric sphere edge horizon. That's the geometric horizon, where you get your R value from. And using that R value, which can't be seen, can't be measured, only exists in the maths, according to your own words, to move the horizon to a different location. Well, you can't move the horizon with an R value if you can't measure a geometric horizon.
Well, we're not talking about the geometric horizon. We're just talking about why the horizon, the apparent horizon, is appearing where it is, and that's due to refraction.
And your refraction is based on the geometric horizon utilising R in 7/6R. It would seem that in spite of me explaining that, you've entirely ignored it.
It's not based on the radius of the Earth.
The radius of the Earth in 7/6 radius? Yeah, it fucking is. It's based on radius. That's what R is. You stuttering liar. Why did you just stutter over that not based on radius? Yeah, it is. 7/6 of the radius. You're just a liar. And you can't get that radius. But you're damn sure going to try and rumpus me while I point out that your radius is part of your looming.
Yeah, stuttering brain, Nathan. Well done.
No, you stuttered over your radius not being in the looming. That was you. Rumpus and your radius that is absolutely in 7/6R. You want to stutter for me again, you little bitch?
You've got a stuttering brain.
You keep stuttering for me, bitch, while I hand you your own arse as you lie about radius not being in refraction that uses R. You're just a liar getting pummeled by a flat earther. That's what's actually happening.
Looming is not 7/6R refraction. In the Black Swan, we've got looming. That's not 7/6R refraction.
So looming isn't your terrestrial refraction then?
It is terrestrial refraction.
So it is terrestrial refraction. Terrestrial refraction's based on R. You're just a liar. Double-speaking liar. So it is terrestrial refraction. Looming is based on R then.
No, it's not based on R.
No, it's not. Even though it is terrestrial and that's 7/6R. You're a lying scumbag fundy. You're literally lying every second breath.
Well, we don't understand.
Well, you keep stuttering over your lies. You lying fundy scumbag. No, your refraction includes R and you can't measure it if you can't see a horizon to base it on. I've already covered this. And all you can say is, our refraction doesn't need radius. You're a lying, stuttering scumbag fundy.
So, stuttering brain man, you don't use a day like this to measure the geometric horizon. You go
and do you use R for the refraction value you say it's moved with?
The reason that the Black Swan appears is because the guy got low down. If he'd gone up into mountain...
You just said it was because of looming. Looming was your answer a minute ago, and your looming's based on R.
Looming...
Stutter for me while I pummel you for the third time in a row. Yes, your radius value is part of looming, and you can't move a physical geometric horizon if you can't measure it to get an R to move it in your looming value that uses R.
But we're not using a geometric horizon here. There's so much refraction you can't...
You're using R based on a geometric horizon.
This is nothing to do with the geometric horizon. Because
so R isn't in refraction. The geometric R value giving you a geometric horizon, that's not in your refraction.
It wouldn't be for this situation. No, it is in the standard refraction, but it wouldn't be for this case.
So you're saying your refraction won't include radius when you calculate how much you're going to move the horizon with terrestrial refraction, which does include radius. You're lying.
Well, no, normally the calculations are trying to give you something like the drop. So
do they include radius? Do they include the R value, which is utilising a geometric horizon?
And so the refraction level is compared to what the curvature of the Earth is doing.
So that's radius then. So you're going to need a geometric horizon to move it with looming then. You're going to need to see a radius value at the geometric horizon to give you an R value to move the horizon with the R value then.
This is an apparent horizon, Nathan.
Yeah, not geometric. And you're moving it with a value that comes from a geometric horizon we can't see and only exists in your geometric mathematics. So you can't move the horizon, looming in your vernacular, with an R value because you then can't see a geometric horizon to give you the R value for your terrestrial refraction to loom the horizon.
In this case, there is no geometric horizon. These are...
No, we know there's no geometric horizon. In this case, no, ever. There's never a geometric horizon. By your own words, it only exists in the maths.
Effectively, there is. If you go into...
Effectively, there is now a geometric horizon. By your only words. Your own words. Quote, it only exists in the maths. Those are your words, Rumpus.
But if you go high up, you can see the geometric horizon.
You just said we can't see it in this circumstance. And according to you, it's loomed with refraction that's based on R. You've danced past the fact that you can't acquire R because you can't see a geometric horizon. Now, if you're going to say that you go up a mountain and you can see it, because there's what? Less terrestrial refraction as you look through all those layers? It doesn't change the fact that your terrestrial refraction still requires R.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. It's 7/6R, you liar. We've covered this 4 times. Yeah, it does. Does it need terrestrial refraction to loom it? Well, yes, it does need R. What, radius?
Terrestrial refraction.
Yeah, that needs radius. So you're going to move the horizon to a different position in this image with a radius value you can't measure because you can't see it. By your own words, it only exists in the maths.
And the difference between the two terms of standard refraction and terrestrial refraction.
Oh, standard refraction and terrestrial refraction, they would both require an R value, though, wouldn't they?
Missed that, stay again.
They both need R.
No, they don't need an R.
So you don't need to bend the light at the rate of R in terrestrial refraction. You're a liar.
You're a
liar. Terrestrial refraction is 7/6 of the radius of Earth. You do need R, and R's based on a geometric horizon. Now, you're telling us that we don't see a geometric horizon. In this image on screen now, according to them, we don't see a geometric horizon. We see an apparent horizon. Well, if we don't see a geometric horizon, you can't get an R value from the geometric horizon to move the horizon with the R value that's in your terrestrial refraction that you're saying isn't utilising R because you are a liar.
The reason there is an R in those calculations is because...
It's because you can't get to it. Who cares why it's there? You can't get it. You can't measure it if you can't see it. The R's based on a geometric horizon, and you're currently justifying how we can't see it. It's not here, not in the image, can't be seen, being moved with the R value that's needed, with a geometric horizon we can't see to get it from.
So you just over-talking...
Stutter, bitch. Yeah, stutter for me. That's what happens when I pummel you. You're justifying why we can't see a geometric horizon in this image. So if we can't see a geometric horizon, by R value to move that point to an apparent horizon position with the R value you can't see or can't measure. It's the paradox and the end of the globe model. The black swan destroys your own model because by your own admission, we can't see a geometric horizon. You're justifying how and why we can't see it right now, and you're justifying it with an R value that you can no longer get if you move the horizon. You're screwed.
Sorts of measure want to make, like
talking through me, ignoring the pummeling, talking through me non-stop, eh? Talking through me so you don't have to listen to the pummeling, right? What a coward. It's reached that point, ladies and gentlemen. He can't listen to any more of the devastating point being made, where he can't move his horizon to a different position with an R-based refraction, because he can't see the horizon to get an R value to move it with. But he's not going to listen to that. He's going to talk non-stop through it, because that's devastating. It's a point I've made 5 times and he's not addressed. He's just lied about his R value not being in a refraction value, which is 7/6R. So he's just a liar, he's lost, and all he can do from this point on is talk incessantly so he doesn't have to address a single word of it. That's his only tactic when he loses. Talk non-stop with verbal diarrhea rather than address a single point. Right, Rumpus?
Who is overtalk? That's the...
Yeah, and then claim I'm over-talking him. Yeah, the same old projection that they use day in, day out when they lose an argument. Anybody got anything to add from Discord? G+ before I round out.
That was well said, Nathan.
Rest in peace, Rumpus.
With that, I'll say, as I clear my throat, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!